Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 343. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm your host, Todd Oxford, joined by my constant companion and also a palindrome, Charlie Carden.
Charlie Carden is a palindrome? I'm going to have to break that down. Hold on, let me think about it. I just
Close enough. You got C's.
Ooh, C's. C to the 3 to the
3 C's, it's forward and backwards, it's all 3 C's.
There's your palindrome. Very good. How are you doing, everybody? Welcome to our Sunday recording. Yes. Sunday recording.
It's like easy like Sunday morning. It's Sunday afternoon. We both have coffee poured, so we're trying to, add some excitement into this episode. But it really is. I think this is going to be the last hot day of summer. Tomorrow is fall, so it's kind of like we're right on pace to really start the season of spookiness, all the fun.
Changing of the sheets. Yeah, the forecast here locally looks like it's going to tilt in what I consider I love fall, so it's tilting in what I consider the correct direction. Because it's been a long, hot summer. Damn.
Super hot. Yeah, today it's fall, like summer's ending, and like it's 88 degrees, and then it goes to 70 tomorrow, which makes no sense. But you know what? It is what it is. And I believe Red Tornado visited me on Saturday night. Was it right. Friday night, maybe? And, I just want to say, weather-controlled villains, guys, behave. I lost part of my tree in the front yard. Just be cool. The world does not need any more weather-powered villains or the weather dominators. Please knock off the crap, super villains.
If you got to knock down a tree, make it in the backyard, because at least it's not that much of a hassle, right? It's not going to fall on your house if it goes the other way.
Oh, yeah. If it goes in the backyard, it's great because it's a huge forest, and there's probably trees that are super old that fall. Nope. The one in the front, the only tree left I have in my yard. What?
Is half a tree?
It's half a tree. Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to make it. So pray for my tree. Maybe it's Groot. Please be Groot.
Oh, right. He'll come out and just he'll sing the song of his people. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of singing some songs, what is going on with this cover? Oh, it's so funny because it's Detective Comics from issue 343, obviously.
From 65.
12-cent cover but I actually dated on July 19th. It's stamped right on the hand of the bad guy. Do you see that?
I think that was some comic owner.
Right,
comic
exactly.
book owner, totally screwed up his valuable comic by either, like I did at one point, I wrote my name in the front, like in the inside panel.
Or
like, why did I do that?
if you tear out the page to fill it and then fill it all out.
Future value is ruined.
Yes, exactly. The inside. Yeah, but this is Elongated Man, and this menacing Batman and Robin with what feels kind of like the Phantom General, but he looks very Nazi-esque, I would think, by that hat.
Absolutely. Looks very SS-esque.
SS-esque? Oh,
SS-esque. Yeah. It's hard to say. You can only see once. My favorite part, though, about this cover, Charlie, it says at the very top, a triple treat thriller guaranteed to leave you limp with excitement. Limp? When I'm excited, I'm not limp. I'll just say that.
There's really not much more that with Todd insisting this is a family-friendly program. There's not a lot more we're going to say about that.
Double entendre, Charlie. It's okay.
So kids that's going to be watch my hand, glossing over and moving on.
Yes. So, the ghost of this general, now that I've enlisted the Elongated Man in my army, he must obey my command to wring the life out of Batman and Robin. The Elongated Man, by the way, is a lot like Plastic Man. I don't know why he was brought on. You don't always have very complimentary superheroes, but this is his old costume, maybe before he really became a superhero. And he had like more of a white and red costume, similar to Plastic Man.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So once again, I don't know if it was a good move.
That doesn't really make any sense why there would have to be two. There's not two. Well, there are two plastic guys in Marvel because there's Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
And then with the Great Lakes Avengers, there was Elongated Man who actually just looked
I thought it was Flat Man, anyway. Not Flat Man?
Yes. No, he was. I said Elongated Man because we're looking at it is Flat Man. And he looked exactly like Reed Richards. So it was, as a matter of fact, it kind of riffed on this a little bit because you just said he had a similar costume, but different color hair. Plastic Man had that Elvis dude with the big mutton chops, as I
and the
recall.
goggles, yeah. And it was just always
yeah.
a goofy character. Yeah, that was fun.
Right.
Plastic Man even had a cartoon back in the day, so it's very weird. I don't know if DC at one time did not own him, maybe, and that's why Elongated Man, and they just acquired him like other characters on the road. So maybe that is why. But 65, this would have came out. Fantastic Four came out in 61. So who knows? DC. Marvel always beg, borrowing, steal. But yeah, if you want to read more about how Elongated Man is just wrapping these boys up based on being haunted by a Phantom General, check out the comic on DC Unlimited Infinite.
SSS-esque.
Yes, like in excess. That's really hard to say too.
Yeah, right. I need you tonight. Oh, well, with that little ditty, and I know you'd love to hear more, but I've always got to keep them wanting for more. We're going to jump in an Uber. We're going to go down to the corner of Hollywood and Vine to get the latest scoops from our favorite news correspondent, our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh, my goodness. It's a wonderful fall is coming, so Madam Webb is ready to get her pumpkins ready for harvest, Charlie. So then eventually she can put one on her head and then have her costume ready to go. She once dated the
Ichabod Crane.
Yes, she only. I think she did. She dated both of them actually.
Yeah,
and it was really like a lover's quarrel. So it didn't work out very well.
I mean, I hear in later years she even connected with David S. Pumpkins and was part of his posse of the Pumpkinhead people. Remember the dancing?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah, she was one of the skeletons in the background.
Yes, exactly. Not bad at all. So, oh my goodness! Up first, we got some Marvel Cinematic Television Universe news. We got the trailer for Hawkguy coming out in time for the holidays. It's
November 24th.
Thanksgiving. Yeah. So this kind of sets up Hawkeye running about in New York City, doing a bunch of Christmassy stuff with his kids. But then he finds out that there is a hero basically biting his style, dressed up like Ronin, which was his alter ego during the blip. Where he was running around killing mobsters all the time and stuff. And he wants to find out what's up. And so he tracks her down and finds out that she's a young kid going out and kind of going buck nuts, who's also an archer by the name of Kate Bishop, who's been a character in the comics for quite some time now. Seems like this whole thing is based around Marvel Comics run by writer Matt Fraction. Todd, we have to read it.
Yes,
and because it's considered to be a modern classic, as it were. So this looks pretty cool. Something about Lucky the Pizza Dog. I guess that kind of went over my head.
Character from the comic. Yeah.
No, I get that part, but I
didn't see a pizza dog, but maybe I missed it. Yeah,
we weren't drilling down hard enough. So yeah, this looks fun. Probably along the lines of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because it's a little bit more base to ground. We know we're going to get Florence Pugh back as Yelena, because that was set up obviously at the end of Black Widow, that she's going to try to whack him, because it was, of course, Selena Meyer, a.k.a. Val, a.k.a. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who kind of set her up with the farcical notion that Hawkeye was the one that caused her death. So yeah, that's going to be a thing. No, I'm looking forward to it. So this is, I would assume, a similar run, 6 episodes, 8 episodes, something like that. So that
good question. Yeah, I depending on what they're going to go. I mean, I think 8's a good pace, just because you can then. Well, if they pace it correctly, then you don't have to worry about like, oh, we got to do everything in the last half hour, right? It's right. I hope they don't do that anymore. Give it some pacing so you can have an epilogue maybe even at the end of the episode, which is always kind of fun too. Right. Yeah, it would be cool to see that. But yeah, I just love the way they filmed this, what they went with the trailer. It made it feel like, people keep saying this, it makes it feel like a Die Hard, Lethal Weapon type film, where it's that kind of. Nobody's ever said like, oh, Hawkeye's the guy you call because he's going to be able to take care of business all the time. He's the guy you call in when everybody else is busy and you're like, okay, we're going to call in Hawkguy. And you can kind of see the way they're playing that up with the way he kind of gets the crap beat out of him, kind of maybe a little over his head this time. And part of the way that's played off is in the comics. So they are taking the best beats of that story, using the MCU magic, the Christmas music. I don't know if this is going to take place all over like that Christmas era, which would be very fun because, it then becomes this is a Christmas series now that you could rewatch around the holidays. So that could be a lot of fun. People love to do that.
Add it to your list. Christmas Vacation plus this. So I totally drew a blank on what I was going to say. Anyway, I'm excited. Looks good to me. Very exciting. Hawkguy, bringing back other elements of what we saw in Black Widow. And I had something for this. I feel terrible. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously post blip,
Right.
so this is going to be a scenario where we don't have to guess when this happened. I hope we're getting to be done with this whole. Well, when did this happen? Because I mean, like after a while, it gets kind of tired.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
right, which is and that's never an issue in the comics because the comics are just the comics. You know what I mean? So it's not
exactly
like, and they follow subsequent issues and whatever and. There's no one true sacred timeline in particular, while they're changing that in the MCU as well with Loki and everything, that you have to be like, well, where did this go? And where was Shang-Chi? And at the end of it, Bruce Banner was not the Hulk or whatever, and his arm was broken and blah, 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 blah. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, so after Hawkeye, then is it Doctor Strange? Oh, no, sorry. It's because Eternals is before this.
And Spider-Man is after it.
Yeah, but the next TV series is Armor Wars? I can't remember. No, She-Hulk? I don't remember. It's all coming together.
I don't know that they're talking much about what the next show is, but we should certainly look into it. But anyway, very excited. Let's move on, Todd. The next one is you, because there's nightmares and things of that nature.
Yes. So this next story is very cool. Guillermo Toro is a favorite director of mine. I really love his style. He does camp. He does horror. He does everything. He does superheroes. He does apparently a fish movie where a woman falls in love with the fish and they get relations. The Shape of Water, I believe, was the movie.
No, was it? No, it was Doug Jones was the guy. But yeah, totally hooks up with the fish. Why can't I remember?
And that was his Oscar winner. The Shape of Water.
I remember liking it very much, and that's probably correct. It probably is The Shape of Water.
Yes, I will look it up really quick. Yes, it was The Shape of Water. Came out in 2017. That was an Oscar winner for him. So very cool. Guillermo Toro.
Point of order: Hawkeye, 6 episodes. Ms. Marvel. It's still Ms. Marvel is supposed to be the next one. It says late 2021.
Okay, I'll believe that when I see it. Typically, that would have to be then you'd have Marvel shows overlapping, which doesn't seem like that would be something they would do.
Then Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and then we get into TBA. So, all right, moving on. Sorry.
Yes. So back to Guillermo. Thank you. Not Guillermo from What They Do in the Shadows, which is a great show. And yes, now back. Check it out on FX on Hulu. Going from there, though, we have this new movie that he is directing coming out in December, apparently only in theaters. And this is going to be his first stab at film noir. He's done a lot of different styles, so I think that's kind of cool that he's doing this. In this movie, I guess it's based on a book, which then became a movie in 1947, which was also called Nightmare Alley and starred Tyrone Power. Looks really interesting. It does feel of the time. It does feel grim and gritty, like a noir, like a detective movie. But this one is set with Bradley Cooper essentially becoming a carny. But then we see parts of his life where he isn't a carny. He's very fancy looking. And he looks like
fancy carny.
Yeah, it looks like we find him being employed as a carny at a circus with Willem Dafoe, a stellar cast in this movie, and we don't really know what's coming, but it looks very dark, looks very grim, and there potentially are a lot of mysteries about this circus and maybe what it does to the people that work for the circus. Ron Perlman's in this, Willem Dafoe, like I said, Rooney Mara, Kate Blanchett. Let's see, who else did I miss?
And Richard Jenkins, Tim Blake Nelson,
David Stathern, which is great.
Statham, I like him.
Jim Beaver from Supernatural.
There you go. Yep. He was Bobby or Billy or whatever.
Yep, Bobby. Yep. Yeah. So great cast. Looks really cool. I mean, I'm down for this movie. Although coming in December, man, this would have been cool, like in the fall, or maybe February. But December, why not? If it's past Christmas, I'm good to go.
December is still scary in its own way. especially if you don't have your Christmas shopping done. So that's okay.
And I mean, I associate all my carnies with Christmas.
It's a very carny Christmas. Maybe Carney Wilson. I don't know.
Exactly. So I don't know if there is going to be any supernatural elements, but it does feel like there's something there. So, but regardless, I will definitely see this. So very cool.
Most def. All right, moving on. We've got picture of Special K with his spiky hair and his big old mullet. That's right. It's the 80s again. And Warner Brothers is looking to do a contemporary reboot of The Lost Boys. Woo! I'll tell you, if those straight-to-video sequels have taught us anything, which they have not, I just don't know.
Are the Frog Brothers back?
Well, they've snagged one of the kids from It, and another kid from A Quiet Place. Okay, yeah, the kid on the right. If you look at it, you scroll down and see the pictures of them. To be, I'm assuming the brothers. Who, basically, if you've not seen The Lost Boys, I mean, give me a break. But yeah, in the late 80s, a single mother with her 2 teenage sons moves to a town in coastal Florida to move in with her dad in the short term. And the town is full of vampires. Womp, womp. So yeah, there's a Joel Schumacher film. It did give us the one famously well-oiled saxophonist. That's an image for a lifetime. But yeah, this was kind of doing a leapfrog over a proposed Lost Boys TV series on the CW. And COVID put a stake through the heart of that show, so that's not happening at all. So let's see here. Oh boy, you can rent the original. It said, I thought it was saying this movie was going right to Fubu. I'm like, that's Fubar.
No. Apparently, Warner Brothers is releasing this, and it is going to be contemporary. So I assume maybe there's a well-oiled DJ rather than a saxophonist, maybe.
Well, basically, yeah. In the greater scheme of things, you are going to have somebody who is well-oiled. So I am okay with that, I guess.
Sure, why not? But the 2 young boys that are in this, whether one is the youngest son and one is one of the Frog Brothers that he teams up with is probably more likely, because these boys are very similar in age. So I wouldn't expect them to, if they're going to do an older brother, younger brother. Right. I don't think either of these is the older brother. So I think this could be a lot of fun. So we'll see where and when this is released. Warner Brothers has said HBO Max day and date will no longer happen. So most likely this will be in theaters and then streaming later on.
It was a good ride while we had it. We did enjoy. You and I watched Reminiscence that way. I've gone to see a bunch of other movies in the theater, but then if you and I were talking about it, sometimes we'll watch them a second time. Like I'll probably watch Malignant a second time because I'm doing that with Rich for his show this week. So because I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it for its ridiculousness, as I mentioned. So it's time to go back to the theaters. Well, obviously once it's safe, and we have gone many, many times, as I'll talk about when we get to the Geek Easy, and we feel perfectly safe. So it just depends on who you are, where you are, and your own personal situation. But we enjoy going.
Yeah, my wife did the rare thing, and that is seeing a movie twice and seeing in theater twice. That's where she saw Shang-Chi with a friend of mine's, our mutual friends. The wives went out and they had dinner, and then they saw the movie. They had a great time. So very cool.
Awesome. Totally awesome. I love it. Good deal.
Yes. So Charlie, hold on. I love it when the ads play, and that one didn't pop.
I just had to shut it down because it was going so loud.
Oh, well.
That's okay.
Yeah. So next story is very cool. And this, I would love to make something happen. We'll see if it happens after I talk about this story. But essentially, Elvira is returning to TV again. She's going to be basically going back to what she did originally, which was she hosted movie marathons, like Movie of the Week. She was like that's how she got started. Right. She was a local horror host and would basically every Friday, there'd be a scary movie. She would be there for like jokes and, sex appeal and all that stuff. And then she just
do the color commentary, just
exactly, and she skyrocketed. I don't know how she got. I mean, just everything went well for her. She had her own movie. She was in a lot of commercials, and she is a household name, just like anybody else, from a certain era that knows Elvira. She is not a niche person anymore, and I just love her. That the fact that she still didn't push back on what she does. She's still funny. I don't know if she writes her own humor or not, but I assume she is. She's very witty. She still does this, and she embraces it. And going back to her roots on Shudder is very cool. This is going to be a marathon. It's going to be celebrating her 40 years that she's been in the industry, which is amazing to have that longevity. And it's just going to be great. It's going to be on Shudder. So very, very cool. It may even come to AMC eventually because AMC owns Shudder apparently. So there's this interesting cross-gen of properties and things. But yeah, she's coming back, and this is going to be a lot of fun, Charlie. And one thing I would like to do, there's a trailer out there if you want to see what she's going to be talking about. Apparently, though, she will be watching her own movie, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Doesn't have to go far for the
exactly. Course. House on Haunted Hill, 1959. The City of the Dead, 1960, and Messiah of Evil, 1973. She debuted back in 1981. On night, I don't know, and the name of her show was Elvira's Movie Macabre. Debuts on Saturday, September 25th, so very coming up on Shudder if you have it, and then AMC Plus shortly after that.
Very cool.
But
I know it's a scene of yours, so that's cool. Yeah, I've always found her entertaining as well, but good for her to keep it rolling.
Charlie, and what I want to happen is I want social media to work for us. I want Elvira to be on our show.
You know what? If we can mock somebody up as Madam Webb, I know that is her younger sister, and I know that they had a falling out a number of years ago. Madam Webb doesn't like to talk about it a lot, but maybe we can kill two birds with one stone. We can boost the notoriety of the show, and we can help
bridge families.
Yeah, exactly. Build bridges. So social media, the internet, help us help two ladies in their, I don't want to say twilight years, but I think you catch my drift. To mend fences.
Yes, I believe Madam Webb is angry because she feels like she was the one with the looks and is not being recognized.
What did my father say? Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one and they all stink.
That's right. Thank you, Charlie, for that. So if anybody out there has not hooked up, but has a hookup with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, please connect us, because that would be so fantastic. It would be a highlight of the show, quite honestly.
Oh my goodness. Well, this next one will be of very great interest to a friend of mine who is a fan. But Todd, it's your story. Go ahead.
Yeah, this one was totally unexpected. So He-Man and the associated properties seem to be having this renaissance. We got the Kevin Smith series on Netflix, which I really enjoyed, which hopefully is getting a second part of the first season because it ends in a hangover. Hangover.
You know what? I watched it, but I didn't watch that closely. Were they drinking at the end?
Yes, they were. Yes, there was a hangover involved. Yes, a tiger. It was, a cringer was that tiger,
yes,
Mike Tyson showed up.
Mike Tyson showed up, exactly correct.
It was great, yes. So, yes, it ended on a cliffhanger. There was a She-Ra cartoon, I believe, on Netflix or Cartoon Network, maybe, and it did very well. It had a lot of huge fan following because, it reinvented She-Ra for modern times. People seemed very happy with that. And then we've got this new He-Man show on Netflix, which is much more very, very not for our age group. It's for little kids, and that's perfectly fine. It's not for me, so I'm not going to complain about it. I hope kids like it.
Really, they're rolling out Star Trek Prodigy in just a couple of weeks here that is specifically geared for kids I don't want to say indoctrinate them into Star Trek, but to introduce it to a younger generation that it just doesn't necessarily click with. So I think that's great.
Would it be different, Charlie, if they had like Star Trek Kids and it was like young Picard and young Janeway all having adventures, and then they had a wacky mascot that always kept on getting into hijinks?
Like Muppet Babies. Did Muppet Babies have a wacky mascot? I don't believe they did.
Well, I think they had Animal. Animal was always the wacky.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Or the Happy Days cartoon where they had a talking dog with a jacket, Mr. Cool.
Didn't the Fonz have a time machine or some shit?
There was an alien who had a time machine who showed up. Or Laverne and Shirley, where they joined the army and their sergeant was a pig. Makes no sense.
Oh my God, that's cool. But yeah, it's
Sergeant Squeal. I don't know.
Are you making this up, Sergeant?
No,
Squeal?
I don't. We don't put tags on the end anymore, but maybe this will be the exception. At the end, I'll have like the trailer for the cartoon of Laverne and Shirley.
You better. You know what?
And Happy Days too.
Like Edward James almost said, you better stand and deliver. Because I think
it will. But we're getting back this. So She-Ra is getting a live action series at Amazon. This is something I did not expect to see. We've had He-Man live action once in a very forgettable movie, which we should forget about. Courtney Cox, though, and Tom Paris, though, got their start there.
Tom, exactly. Tom Paris all the way.
Yeah. And then after that, we've got nothing live action. This He-Man movie that was supposed to come out, I don't know if that's ever coming out. But She-Ra's coming back. And that is interesting because I don't know how you pull off this in a TV series and capture the right tone. That doesn't seem like it's going to miss.
Right. Yeah, it does seem tricky just because of the She-Ra He-Man. It's just kind of like, you might as well call her She Dude or She Chick. I mean, it's like super female, super male. So where's the balance if you were even looking at the two of them? So yeah.
I mean, like you've talked about, like you and I and John have talked about, who's one of the original Secret Friends, for those who have not joined the show in a long time. Basically, John has always talked about G.I. Joe, the fact that G.I. Joe, the tone is hard to nail. And the fact is, they've struggled with it. And when you've got these old properties, who are you making it for? And how do you pull it off? Because She-Ra was never the most like serious property in the world. And are you going to make it like Game of Thrones with She-Ra? Because then you're alienating a large part of that fan base.
Well, it just seems super weird. You know what I mean? It's like, why not just have Game of Thrones be Game of Thrones? Why does it have to be something like that? So yeah,
I mean, you're going to make it a talk. I can't remember. I think she had her horse turned into a unicorn Pegasus. And I think the horse still talked, maybe?
Yeah, okay.
And how do you do that?
did you say how do you do? Would it be like Mr. Ed put a little gum on his pen? Wilbur, come in the room.
I'm sure that comes off really well. Yeah, I don't know. So this could be interesting. We'll see if this really comes about or if this will just go the way of the dodo and another like one of those old stories where we talk in 5 years. Charlie, remember when they were going to make a live action She-Ra? Yeah, we do that a lot these days.
Oh my God. Sure. Yeah, sure do. Oh my God. All right. Well, I think that's about it for the news. So let's break up on out. We'll leave Madam Webb at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. We'll get that Uber back. We're going to go down to the Bowery, to the bowels of town, and we're going to sit on down at the Geek Easy for some dime store chicken nuggets and a watered down martini. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy. Cover band is playing. Coffee has been poured, unless you're having an Irish whiskey coffee. We're like the people they don't want. It's like the old people that show up and just drink coffee and just hang out in the booth and talk all day.
I think you inspired my next beverage, a little Jameson's in my second coffee.
Sure. Woo! More Jameson than coffee, most likely. But yeah.
We'll do that at the next commercial break.
Absolutely. Yeah, so what we've been geeking out about this week, I'll kick it off but we've watched a couple of the same things, so we'll go there. Okay. So we'll start with the newest and freshest, and that is Why the Last Man debuted. Finally debuted. Was looking forward to this one. The first 3 episodes dropped. I only watched the first one. Charlie, how many did you watch?
Oh, man. Are you serious? We blasted right through them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good sign. But we'll just kick off the first episode.
Yeah, please. Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the comic. Read the whole thing, 75 issues. Brian K. Vaughan, just a great series. The way it started and the way it ended was very cool.
What was his claim to fame at Marvel? I know it was something I've read.
He did Runaways. That was probably his number 1 title that he created. Okay. But then, he did a couple others. Now he's doing Saga. And then he also did a series called Deus Machina, which is really cool about a superhero mayor, which is very fun. Cool series. But
you know what? And when they cast the show, they're going to merge it with the show The Mayor, and it'll be Ted Danson.
Not He's the Mayor. That horrible sitcom with the urban. Yeah, that was just. He can't be a mayor. He's black.
Oh no! Are you serious?
Yes, it was just weird. It was like he won an election just like as a goof, I guess.
Oh, I know the show.
Yes, and horrible show.
He's a young hip, urbanite. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he tries to change the stiff bureaucracy of City Hall.
I did watch a few of those, and then you flap right back to the Man with the Plan or whatever it is, like Matt LeBlanc. He's a man. He can't raise children while his wife goes to work. Whoa!
Why does this idiot still have a hot wife? I don't know. Sorry, guys. The tropes of TV and all those things, it just always amazes us. I love that stuff because it's so dumb.
It'll be here till the end of time. Count on it.
So Why the Last Man? Simple premise. This one was in development hell, but ultimately it comes down to there is something that happens in the world that basically eliminates all creatures with the Y chromosome.
Yeah.
Which is
Boom.
Part of why it's called Y, The Last Man, but also because the protagonist is Yorick. So it's that double meaning, which is very cool. Love that.
No, and it's super sad because it starts out with here's a dead bird, and then here's a sad little dead mouse, and then you watch it, and they cut around it, but then you watch a dog die.
Oh, that dog! That was heartbreaking.
That was bad. April and I were both, and we're early risers, so I think maybe we watched. Like I got home Friday night, from Wisconsin, and it was like I had another appointment, so I got home. We sat down to watch something like 8 o'clock or 8:30, 9 o'clock. So we might have watched one, and that might be one we saw before. We were like, oh, that puppy. But dang, I really loved it. Amber Tamblyn, boy, was she ever channeling my ex-wife in this show? Yikes!
It's an interesting show. So the first episode is the only one I've seen so far. Charlie has seen 3, so in this instance, we're just not going to try to spoil too much. But essentially. It does a little bit of starts off with a flashback or in the future times, and it goes to a flashback of kind of what all happened.
Right.
But this episode did not explain why it happened or how it happened. It happens, and you start seeing the initial impact of it. It's kind of like The Walking Dead. We never got to see how it actually happened. Right. We just were dropped in 30 days later or whatever it was. This one, it's as it happens. So you start seeing just the things of cabs start crashing. Airplanes driven, flown by male pilots drop out of the sky.
Exactly.
Just all this crazy stuff. And we see the government, which the main character's mother, well, I won't spoil that, who she is.
Right. Well, they're all gathered in one place, the Pentagon in this case, the president, along with, as you said, Diane Lane, who's the female lead. And just the men, they die by exploding blood out of their faces. Whatever it is, it's extremely unpleasant. So, and then, April's like, well, are you trying to tell me that if all the men died, that society would just fall apart? And you can kind of see where they're coming, because we kind of crunched some numbers on it. And I think men make up just over 50% of the population, even just in this country. So it's like Thanos' snap. It's like Thanos' snap, if you think about it, and what it would look like, except for all the dead bodies. Well, it's the same thing. People disappear, so you still have crashing planes and stuff. But is this?
You got a lot to clean up in this one versus just dust.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a precursor to what the post blip was like in Marvel? I mean, did they have to abandon New York City, and it was like you'll go on to see that
the carnage would have been just crazy. I mean, just to this, we'll see the carnage of this one. It would have been the exact same carnage because people flying planes, people at the just even people guiding planes, at the at the control tower.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but it would be disastrous because we want to be as optimistic about women and what their role in society is, but still so many of the roles in engineering and things STEM are still so male focused that you've lost a lot of the people, that the engineers and all those people that keep things running, and things are improving, but still the truck drivers,
they've only come so far. And if this happened, if you and I were sitting recording the show and we both started shooting blood sideways out of our noses and we all died and every Y chromosome on Earth ended except for this one dude, what the hell would remain? Exactly. You're talking about 50% of the population, not just disappearing, but dying, and what impact would it have? So
it's just not humans. It's animals too, which is just tells you right there. It's like food supply, like beef.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All your cows died. So hurry up and have a special on beef down at the,
unless you have a large supply of animal stuff, if you catch my drift, and you have some in vitro fertilization facilities, it's going to be messy. So and that is, you'll find in these subsequent 2 episodes, does become a plot point that is kind of talking about it. Interesting. That's cool. They're covering that
stuff. But go ahead and watch it, and let's talk about it again next week. Get caught up, and then we'll both watch episode 4 and we'll talk about it.
I'm excited to.
That's my proposal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it veers from the comic. But and Charlie, I don't know if this was a Vertigo comic. I'll be curious to see if it's on the DC Unlimited app, because it would be curious what you thought of, like, if you read the first trade or something, just compared to it.
Oh, yeah, I would do it. If we can verify it's there, I'll read the first
Yeah,
trade.
I'll take that as a follow-up. So very cool.
Okay.
Then next, I am also connecting again with Rich for his movie podcast. We're both pinch hitting on that. And he invited me to watch a movie, and I picked Spiral, which is interesting because I've never seen a Saw film. I know the premise, and I've heard a lot of the story beats.
And this is the newest one, a spinoff, and I've not seen it either.
Okay, so I won't get too deep into spoilers, but it's from the Book of Saw, Spiral. The thing that was interesting about this one, it was Chris Rock kind of brought this into life, because apparently he was a big Saw fan, and because the series has kind of dwindled and kind of lost kind of some presence, he said, I want to bring it back. So not only did Chris Rock come along, but Sam Jackson as well. Sam Jackson is playing Chris Rock's dad, and there's only 16 years difference between those two. So he must have been a young father.
It's not completely off the reservation, but still,
close.
You can suspend your disbelief.
Exactly. So Chris Rock is a cop. His father was the police chief, and he's retired since then. And essentially, if you guess this is a Saw movie, essentially the Saw mythos, and something comes back to make you think that the Saw killer, the Spider killer, whatever you want to call him, is back. And this is what this movie is all about.
Tobin Bell.
Absolutely. So he's referenced, the guy who plays him. They show a picture of him in a future scene. Won't give much more away, but I will tell you, if you're interested in a tight horror film, meaning like 90 minutes, it is that. It is 90 minutes.
And it's where it's on HBO Max?
No, I had to rent this. So I got a deal. So Roku always has like these like free rental deals and offers. So I
got a deal. So instead of a $3.99 rental, it was a 99-cent rental. Oh, Todd.
No, it was a $0 rental, because my rental was free.
You slick devil. I will often do that with Amazon. If you do delayed shipping, you'll get a digital credit. So
yeah,
Roku,
Roku has these ads that if you look at your Roku menu, you'll see like offers and things. I always click on them. So they'll send you a code to your email address, and it's great. So it's based on a service called Row 8, which I don't understand what it is, but allows you to rent movies, buy them or whatever. That's what I did. So a $6 rental became free for me. So I saw it. I've got to say, overall view was, wow. I don't know if there will be a sequel to this, but based on the script and the acting and all the other things and the way it goes, I would be surprised if it got one. Yeah.
That's a tough one. Womp womp.
Yes. So there you go. Check it out if you want. But that's an early Spooktober film. That's just right on the cusp of it. But yeah, Spooktober comes next month. So our next episode, Charlie. So we'll have to talking about which movie we're going to watch, so we get that done in the next week.
Yes, indeed, we do. So okay, rounding up, your last one is one that we shared together. So go for it.
Yeah. What if we're on episode 6 now, and I am starting to feel like, what if is? I always thought the premise was cool. And typically in execution, even in the comics, it always like, is it going to deliver? I feel like Marvel's gotten close to like really delivering on these premises. I thought some were better than others. I think the first one's still the best. I still think it set the bar. Loved it.
Cap and Peggy. Yeah, Peggy Cap. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, this one is more along lines of a not so great ending, but this is all about what if Tony Stark was saved by Killmonger. And what it does, once again, it just creates more ripples, and this is based on the MCU, and just the path it goes down. And it didn't feel like it changed a whole in regards to like what the one of the characters did. I felt like he didn't change. His stripes did not change, if you want to say it. Tiger to see it. I felt like the main person of this show or this episode, I felt like he didn't change whatsoever. He just wasn't stopped like he was in the first movie. But I felt like he didn't take a different path. I don't know. What did you think, Charlie?
I can't necessarily disagree with you. That character, it stayed in our chat. It's not like in the episode with T'Challa as Star-Lord, where Thanos was like, hey, you know what? You talked me out of it. I'm not going to get the Infinity Stones now or whatever. So, yeah, it wasn't much of a revolutionary turn, but, it's funny because the Weekly Planet, which is a podcast that Mark and I love, does a weekly wrap-up of What If, and they have kind of a watch going like, all right, well, when's going to be the episode where they finally decide that the Watcher's going to get involved. So, because I'm just starting to wonder when is this all going to start to coalesce? Because this is episode 6, and I keep forgetting. Do we have 8?
I think it's 9.
10? Okay, yeah, I'm going to verify that while we're talking because I'm curious how many. So yeah, I'm wondering when it's going to coalesce because they've got to they don't want it to get too big that it's unwieldy. 6 episodes?
No, because that would be done then. No, there's more episodes coming.
That is what this says.
If you go to IMDb, they usually say
no 6.
No, this says 10, Charlie. 10 episodes.
Oh, maybe this is maybe because I'm looking at
they announced 10 episodes.
Oh, well then I got lied to by the Googs.
Yeah, and so this will end mid-October. So we have 4 more there, yep.
Right. So I think that we're perilously close to the Watcher have to get involved. But yeah, I'd like to see them get something going with it sooner rather than later, because otherwise it becomes too unwieldy, and it's just going to turn into Cameo Central when they finally have their big finale. So let's get to hoping.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, and the whole point of What If, and people have compared this, is it really a What If, or does it feel like more like an Elseworlds? And I would say it. I mean, what if never was just like one simple thing changed? I mean, like, what if Jane Foster became Thor? That's a huge difference than just Don Blake and Thor. So I don't. This one felt, like I said, more. It didn't feel like that much of a twist, except for the one twist that kind of kicked things off, which was, I would say, yes, that was one impact, but it didn't feel like the transition of events changed, except he wasn't stopped. So I won't say more than that, but I think it was okay, more so than great. And there are threads from this storyline. Right. There are threads from most of these storylines. It's like, yeah, to your point, is it going to be something bigger? Is something going to change? Because it seems like each thread is a different timeline now, or a different era where they don't necessarily overlap. So I don't know how they do it. But you know what? We've been surprised before.
Right. This does verify final episode 9, October 6th. So
only 9. So which one is it? We got 10 or 9. So mine said 10. Yours says 9.
Well, but this gave a date, and I looked at the calendar, and that's through our episode. So I guess we'll find out when we get there. Maybe they'll surprise us with a bonus.
What if we knew the number of episodes?
Yes, exactly. How will that end up changing our universe? So
we'll never know, Charlie.
All right. Well, let me jump in. April and I have weekends that I'm home, so I've been in Wisconsin for work during the week. So when I come home, we like to do this like doubleheader thing because I've talked about it several times at the movie theater, because we have the VIP deal from Celebration Cinema, which is our local Michigan chain. And so we went to go see 2 movies. The first of which was an action comedy of sorts called CopShop. This had good old Jerry Butler. This had Frank Grillo, famous in the MCU for being Crossbones. This had, I think, Chad L. Coleman, who is a heavyset African-American guy who was in The Walking Dead. And that's kind of where, and they had one other guy who was a kind of a proto-villain who was in Spider-Man Homecoming. He was the heavyset dude with the beard who I think was supposed to represent the Tinkerer in that movie. So a lot of little.
So I have to ask for a revision there. You can't say Jerry Butler, because I looked up Jerry Butler. I'm like, who is Jerry Butler? It's Gerard Butler. Jerry Butler is a old black man. Is the first Google.
I was having this same riff with my friend Miranda, and she loves him, and so I mainly kept doing it just to annoy her. But that's what the boys call him over on the Weekly Planet, so it kind of stuck with me. But yes, Gerard Butler.
Thank you, because now I'm going to think of Jerry Butler, and I'm going to think of the retired Cook County Commissioner, because that's the first Google search response. Not
Jerry Butler. So Frank Grillo is he's a fixer, kind of like Ray Donovan, and Gerard Butler is a hired killer coming to take him in. They both get captured and locked in this out in the middle of nowhere Nevada desert police station, and then it turns out there's a third killer coming to grease him, and it's just a big shoot 'em up, very violent. But again, they work in a decent amount of comedy that I found it enjoyable. So I like that. I would recommend it. I think it's kind of fun.
Kind of sounds like reminds me of like Midnight Run, which I loved that movie back in the day.
I do not believe I've seen that one. So
that was Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh, I'm thinking of Midnight Cowboy. I'm like,
no, that's far different.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second film, we kind of seemed to bat like 1-2. We picked Clint Eastwood's new movie, and it was directed and produced. Screenplay was by some other people, but April looked this up after the fact. He is 91 years old. Okay, he's as old as William Shatner. I still find William Shatner to be more coherent because poor Clint Eastwood can barely speak, and he wasn't doing anything super physical in this, but even just him walking, he walks like your great grandfather's ghost. He's ancient. This had a riff on, I was describing it as, if you've seen the early 1990s Ed O'Neill film Dutch, this was kind of like this. You have a ranch cowboy played by Dwight Yoakam. That should have been the first sign that this was no bueno. Who hires?
What's wrong with Dwight Yoakam?
He's a terrible actor. He's a terrible
I think he's
actor.
Fine for being like this guy from the South.
I no in Texas, and
he's playing himself essentially.
Yes, in 1979,
sure.
He hires kind of down on his luck Clint Eastwood to drive down to Mexico to bring back his teenage half Mexican son because of reasons which unfold as the movie goes by. And because the boy lives with his mother, who for some reason is enormously wealthy, but she's also kind of a whore because she tries to seduce Clint Eastwood. And it's just...
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see that.
the dialogue alone in this movie really feels like it was written by an AI computer. Nobody can act. It's like when I can tell you that Clint Eastwood gave the most believable performance, then you compare it to everyone else in the film. This was a miss. This was me looking at my watch being like, how we doing? How we doing on time? When did the thing say this was going to end? This was not.
Charlie's, that one difficult moment you have to talk to your parents, like, sorry, mom and dad, we have to take away your license. You're too dangerous to drive. They have to take away his camera. And they say, sorry, you're just not capable of filming anymore.
I think behind the camera, he might do great.
Sure. Yeah,
but tried him out in front of the camera. I mean, Todd, they looped in, like he had to punch somebody, and they looped in somebody.
Oh no,
yeah. And he had to bend down on the ground at one point to look under a car to see that his oil pan was leaking. And I'm like, I know that's not him. You know what I mean? I know you're not going to make your. I mean, my grandpa was 94 when he died, and I think he was more spry than Clint Eastwood.
Wait, I got a question. Did they bring the orangutan back from Every Which Way But Loose?
No, they did have a rooster.
Oh, because which
was
Macho. The same, Charlie. Almost the same.
Which was Macho, thus the name of the film. So yeah, Cry Macho, and it's on HBO Max, but still skip it, please. Just don't, because you know what? If you don't skip it, you're going to end up turning it off because it's that unwatchable.
I've not heard many good things about the movie.
Yeah, exactly correct. So big thumbs down for that one. No Cry Macho for me.
No Mas Macho.
Thumbs down. Oh.
Thank you
7
for your
thumbs down.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh well,
you're very welcome.
Oh well, it's our time to leave the Geek Easy. We've geeked out. Now it's our time to get a little bit nerdy with the mutants in the Thunderdome. So let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome for a topic or a game to be entertained, and this week. I was inspired with this topic because a big announcement came out in the world of video games that the God of War series will only be getting a sequel, not a trilogy. And that's what the director said, because the games just take too long to make. So let's just make a sequel. And people are outraged, Charlie. And it made me think about trilogies. And, just movies primarily are the focus of trilogies. And I always thought, we kind of understand why trilogies exist because of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. That's the most famous trilogy in time. But Star Wars created the modern trilogy. I don't think there was any trilogies before. Even sequels were.
I don't even think sequels were into the.
Godfather was the only one I was aware of.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I don't know what Godfather 2 came out. What 70, year? I don't know.
76 or so. So okay. The original Godfather was in 72.
Yep.
So definitely Godfather 2 came out still in the 70s, I'm going to say.
Exactly. So Star Wars probably aped that from The Godfather, most
Right.
likely, because they were all contemporaries. Lucas was a contemporary with Scorsese and Coppola, all those guys. Yeah.
Well, then you had Jaws, was what's considered traditionally be the first blockbuster.
Which was Jaws was what, 76?
75.
Okay. Jaws 2 was when? Jaws 2 was 78.
Rocky was a big one. That was 76.
Rocky 2 was Rakutu. Let me spell that right.
79 or 80. So I don't know.
Rocky 2 was 79. So yeah, and then Empire Strikes Back was 80. So you know what? Forgive me. There were a lot of sequels before Star Wars did it.
Right. But as far as ones that people look at, like you said, trilogies and say, "Oh, it's Star Wars trilogy," it just rolls right off the tongue. Star Wars trilogy. It's a great story, beginning to end, before everything that happened after 1999, and now we have to have more stories and blah 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 blah. So, but this is kind of skimming through your list. So you gave us 2 lists here. You gave us a best and you gave us a worst.
Yes. So we'll go back to that at the very end. But we just wanted to talk about trilogies, and that became like you had to have a trilogy, right? It's like if you're going to bring in a property, it's got to have a trilogy. And it always made me think, well, is that the best form of storytelling? Because that assumes that not only you're starting off strong, to actually assume it actually can manage more movies.
Right.
And that assumes that the movies probably have to get better. Right?
Right.
I think.
And not suffer from sequelitis, and then sequelitis, the sequel.
Or run out of ideas or run out of steam, because they typically make more money. But I would say movies don't always get better as they progress and add more titles along the mix. I mean, and obviously, we can talk more about, but in regards to trilogy, so, it's one of those things like what we prefer. And that's what my first question is, Charlie. Do you prefer trilogies, or do you prefer movies that just have sequels, or do you like standalones better?
Man, there is no easy answer, because we could sit here and rattle off great examples of all three, and then terrible examples of all three. But I think the kind of the green eyes of the franchise love. Man, I'm looking through this. Oh, okay. All right. Number 1 on this list is fine. It's just not for me. I was just scrolling through the list. We're talking. You're right. It's about, if a trilogy can follow the 3-act structure of a standard film or play or any type of story, is there a beginning, middle, and end? I feel like my number 1, which would be the Star Wars trilogy, really does that well. You know what I mean? Because in the beginning, you have, kind of the nascent development of the characters, and you kind of get a feeling of what they're after. In the middle part of it, you see them grow and the relationships change, and, big bombshells get dropped. And then in the third part, you see those threads resolve. And if a trilogy isn't following that direction, like I said, if it doesn't start here and then end further down the road in some kind of linear fashion, ostensibly, I don't feel like it's great. Is there an example of something that was a first and second and turned out great? I'm not. Somebody would have to throw one at me.
The Godfather is about the only one, because I don't
You refuse to recognize the third one?
There was a third? Oh, I didn't know that. I'll have to eventually check it out.
No, yes, because exactly, yeah, the third it exists in a gray area. Unfortunately, it's also on this list as number 4
of the worst,
of the best.
So that's the hard part. Then can you say it's a really? And that's where I have a hard time with the whole trilogy experience, and that's why I always say, like, I'd rather have a great standalone movie than a trilogy that suffers. Right? It's not. There are really weak parts.
The Godfather is a great example, because that first film is incredibly strong. The second film was so strong that it was the first sequel ever to earn Best Picture.
Absolutely. A lot of people say it's the best of all three.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the third one absolutely rockets to the bottom. And it was 16 years in distance. So it was one of these, and they point out Kingdom of the Crystal Skull being the fourth Indiana Jones movie, and
what's that movie? I've never heard of it.
They just tend to ignore it because, again, it goes outside. A lot of people just want to think, nope, it was a trilogy. The same way that I would, in a lot of ways, just like to think of Star Wars as a trilogy. I don't need to think about sequels and prequels and TV shows. I just want to think about
if you get a quill, if you've got other quills around your franchise, that means something's going on, right? I mean, so it becomes a scenario where there's very few where you end at your strongest.
Right.
And a lot of people would feel that way about most trilogies. The only one I think people would say that it actually ended on the strongest is Lord of the Rings. And I think,
and that is number one on this list, and I can appreciate that, even though it is not really my deal. I've watched Lord of the Rings in its entirety probably within the last couple of years at John's nonstop needling because it's his favorite thing in the whole wide world, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate him because one of my oldest friends. So I did, and I did one of these things where I set my phone down and I just gave it my absolute attention, and I'm just like, I still don't really enjoy this. I'm sorry. But I have a lot of respect for people who do. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, and if you just don't like the genre, which I think is a big part of it, with Lord of the Rings, it's swords, sorcery, monsters, things like that.
Right.
If you don't like that, I don't think the best one will be the one that sways you. But although many people, it was. So, I mean, it was Oscar nominated, all that fun stuff. So, So, I mean, that would be the one exception I think that really nailed. And Scott Barber actually said that's his thought on best of, and he said The Matrix was the worst trilogy. And let's put it this way, let's caveat it too. If you had 3 movies and then it's like more than X number of years away, can you then just like Indiana Jones, can you just say, I don't really think that's part of the trilogy because it's so many years past that it feels like it missed out on the momentum or just the feeling at the time of when they were making it.
Right. Does it contain story threads that are relevant? And I guess that fourth film, if we're still talking about Indiana Jones, even though it doesn't exist, be like, oh, well, this was the conclusion of his relationship with Marion, and they had a kid, and he didn't know about his kid, and then this is supposed to be a satisfactory conclusion of the story, but now they're making another one. So Indiana Jones is one of those that it's just like, and it was beautiful because it was all within the 1980s. It would be like this was the story of the 1980s.
Absolutely.
And it just absolutely should have stayed there. But again, don't compare the best of list to your worst of list because a lot of these are just straight to video clunkers. A lot of one
exactly trash. Yeah.
So
kind of making a trilogy that really was never probably meant to be a trilogy, right?
Right.
You had a property and you just want to continue it because you could make a few extra bucks.
Right, and you kind of gravitate back towards your best of trilogy, and maybe I've not seen all of these. A couple of them are MCU. They put the Captain America trilogy in very high regard, which I agree with because those are my favorite Marvel films. Because again, I think they tell an arc of the development of a character. Cap is just this wide-eyed kid, and then he gets his powers, and he gets frozen. Then he comes back, and he's struggling with his mission, and then he kind of fumbles his way through it. He gets to the third film where he ends up making a choice about kind of right or wrong, and he finds himself on the wrong side of the law, and that set up everything kind of that followed. So I thought that again, from a character development, I guess I would boil down a trilogy, and a necessary trilogy is something that takes a character from point A and gets them to point Z, and you see kind of what happens to character or characters, because obviously within Star Wars you're talking about Han, Luke, and Leia, and all the ancillary characters around them, and how they grew and how they changed. And I think that did it well. The Spider-Man trilogy.
Well, I want to go back to that one though, because I trying to feel like the third Captain America movie wasn't a Captain America movie. That was another Avengers film, and I felt like it really didn't change Cap's status quo, whereas Endgame did. So I kind of feel like the Cap one, the first 2 movies felt like they were truly Cap centric. Well, the third one was just like here's everybody, and there's a lot more than the Cap really didn't have he was in that movie, but I felt like it was him and Iron Man. It was almost like they were the 2 leads.
I mean, that part of it is true, but his status quo completely changed. So I guess I have to disagree with you there.
But everybody's status quo changed in that movie.
Not really.
Every character's status quo changed. They became enemies. They fought. So I would say it's not. That was an Avengers movie.
It was your Avengers 2.5. I don't disagree with it, but I do think I find it to be significant to the characters.
I mean, everybody that went with Cap changed their status quo. Everybody that went Iron Man changed their status quo. So I would say it's everybody's status quo changed that movie. Cap was just one of he and Tony were the ones that first made that decision. So I was like, that's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
and again, some of the other ones on this list, like Iron Man, I didn't really see a lot of growth in the character. Spider-Man, the Tony, the Raimi ones, I didn't really see a lot of growth in this character.
That probably goes with that arc of movies where the third just kind of took your excitement about the property away, like the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight Rises.
It's like your bell curve. I mean, this is the whole thing. Started and built momentum, and then just peters off. It's the same thing with the Godfather, and a lot of people would say maybe Star Wars too, because of Return of the Jedi. A lot of people didn't love it.
But you've often said that it's your favorite. So how do you feel differently about it?
I don't feel differently. That's why I'm saying a lot of people though. Oh, it's the Ewoks and blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't know. I loved it so much as a kid, and that's probably some nostalgia coming in. But I felt like that was the culmination of all those characters.
Back to the Future is a strange one because the tone of 2 and 3, potentially because those films were shot back to back and they were released.
Well, I would say it's probably like this, and then that.
Well, I mean, if you look at the tone of the first film, and then as I said, those subsequent 2, they don't really seem very connected. The first movie seems like very much a product of his time, and Marty McFly's this 80s kid and blah, blah, blah. And time travel wasn't this, well, we've got to do all these different things. Like in the second movie, it was like, we've got to change this. So in 2015, Marty Jr. doesn't go to jail, but old Biff steals the sports manual and he goes back to 1955 and gives it to his younger self. So Marty has to stop him. And it just becomes all this, and they end up in the Old West in the third one. And then they got to find a way to get back, but also save Doc's life. So it's just, there was more stuff to get accomplished, where in the first movie it was, well, I got to make sure my parents fall in love because I got in the way of that, so I don't cease to exist and get home. So you had 2 things to accomplish, as opposed to like 40 different things to accomplish in the other.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just the premise. The premise was good that they we could use this, keep using this premise, and make more movies and more money to be made. And like I said, that felt like the last movie kind of took the bad taste out of your mouth from the second one, which a lot of people did not like. To at least make it feel like it ended on a more positive and kind of captured more of the original feeling, versus the second one, which just felt kind of dirty, kind of like seeing all the elements. But that's kind of like that was the Empire Strikes Back, where it created the negative and the bad, and now you have to redeem it. So yeah, so it takes me back with our standalones better, and I would say a lot of those instances, would we have been better off if all we got was just Back to the Future? Or the first Matrix, or a lot of those movies where it felt like the original was so strong that it needed nothing else after.
Todd, I cannot believe in this worst of list that we have not watched the Happy Hooker trilogy, because just based on the photograph of this gal, I mean, I want to know what her journey is.
Okay, so let's go through these lists and let's give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on these. So let's start with the worst, and then we'll end on a positive with the best. All
right. Well, I will give the name, and if a description is necessary, but otherwise we'll do that then. So, okay, we're starting at the top of the key in the worst list. 15, Dungeons and Dragons trilogy.
So, does this mean they're getting worse as the number gets bigger or smaller?
That's what I think.
Okay.
So 15 is the least worst. Of
so so basically the importance of the worst is increasing as we go through this list. Perfect.
Right.
So we're going from the least worst to the most worst.
Dungeons and Dragons, didn't see it.
I didn't know there was. So this is once again, Charlie, your example of direct-to-videos. The first one came in theater, direct-to-videos.
Right.
The first one was horrible, so they should not even continue.
Right. Big Mama's House. I don't think I've seen one of them, but
they made a third one.
I can't imagine it got any better. And then the next Problem Child is the next one. No clue.
Oh no! And that was John Ritter. It was his his trilogy.
Oh, yeah. I guess I do know that there was a second one, because wasn't there like a girl problem child?
Yes, there was. But the funny part, Charlie, they say that they couldn't even get John Ritter back for the last movie. So that just tells you, was it really a sequel? It's kind of like Beethoven. They made 8 Beethoven movies. Charles Grodin stopped being in those, I think, at 2.
Probably so. Number 12 is I Know What You Did Last Summer. We added the first one to our 4th of July playlist because we enjoyed it so much. I remember the second one that came out when I was in college. I actually went to a screening on campus. I had no idea that they decided to toss out another one about 15
almost 10 years later. Yeah,
I know. So yeah.
Well, they're making an Amazon series on this too, which I just saw the trailer for. So I don't know if that'll be better in series form.
Oh my goodness. The Happy Hooker I already talked about. Sign me up. because I would bet it would make me happy too.
I'm sure you can probably find that on a underground service near you, Charlie.
Oh my God, Carnosaur number 10.
That
No
actually
clue.
came out in theaters. Really? I don't think any of those came out in theaters.
It was a night. It was obviously a Jurassic Park ripoff. Says so right in the top of the key. So number 9 is that Matthew Broderick? Private
No.
Lessons 1, 2, and 1, 2, and Another Love Story. This is from the 80s. Who is that?
81 was the first one. Then they jumped 12 years and made the second one in 93. That's funny.
Gotcha.
Most of these are direct-to-video movies, then.
Yeah. Delta Force, no clue. Sometimes they come back.
That one, was that a Stephen King series? It was.
Yes, correct.
It was.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
We've got the Mangler starring it looks like the furnace from Home Alone.
Oh yeah, so that the Mangler. I thought that was Stephen King too, but yeah. Once again, a lot of these is like I don't even know if they were theatrical releases. Maybe the first one was, but definitely not the rest.
Well, definitely because some of these are dated in the 70s and 80s where there was no direct home because there was no home video market. But yeah, the Boogeyman 1, 2, and then the Return. Most of these are horror movies. Troll 1, 2, and
Troll 2 is a movie that they made actually a documentary. Like Troll 2 is supposed to be the worst sequel ever. They made a documentary on it. I don't know about that.
I'm even more interested in Troll 3, aka Contamination .7.
7.
Point
I like that.
7.
I like
Point
that.
7. We're getting granular. Blood Rain, wasn't.
Blood Rain was a video game series about a vampire who was good fighting Nazis.
And wasn't the chick in at least one of them the girl from
Mila Jovovich?
Terminator.
Maybe
Christiana Loken. There we go. I think
why not?
Could
Makes
be.
sense.
Why not? I mean, Shark Attack that has got
Shark Attack
all over it. I guess 1, 2, 3, and the Megalodon was the third one.
I mean, is that better than Sharknado?
Oh my God! I think this last one was straight to video. All 3: National Lampoon's Dorm Days 1, 2, and Transylmania.
What?
Okay. Low tier American Pie comedies featuring horny, unlikable college students. Okay.
All I can say is National Lampoon's has one name, completely lost its importance over time. National Lampoon's, Charlie. What was the last? Was it Van Wilder? Was that the last one?
And that was Ryan Reynolds. And then they picked up on Taj, who was I think
Cal Penn.
Cal Penn. And they ran with that for a long time. So okay, transitioning over.
I will do the best, Charlie.
Yeah, I was going to say you'll be able to skim more because we talked about a lot of these.
Okay,
but
so we'll kick it off.
Yeah. Why don't you hit on the ones we haven't mentioned?
And these are increasing in betterment.
Bestermentness. Yes, go for it.
Okay, The Matrix. Well, I would say not a good trilogy, but the first movie I really thought really did a lot of cool things. We talked about this though. Hopefully, maybe Resurrections will resurrect the franchise. Then we get to Iron Man. I didn't have huge problems with 2 or 3, but they definitely were a step down from the first. So I don't know if it's a great trilogy. So this is weird. Whoever made this list, I don't know. Original Spider-Man. Once again, I thought Spider-Man was like 3. This, and totally a dip. It was a bell curve again. The second one, I don't know if it still holds up or not, but I remember really enjoying that one when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evil Dead really kind of wasn't, because wasn't the second one a remake of the first?
It pretty much said, hey, we could remake that movie and make it better with a budget. And they said, okay, here's some more money. So yeah, it really is a pseudo trilogy, but I do enjoy it for what they did because it went completely the opposite direction of the third. So it's got a special place in my heart with our boy Bruce Campbell.
Our boy, yes, we're on campus of MSU in 1998.
Absolutely, yeah. Then we go to the Before trilogy. This is that artsy-fartsy series,
right? With
these 2 characters that potentially it's exploring their life together. We've got Julie Delphi and Ethan Hawke. And they're just basically exploring their life together, kind of like when they first meet as a couple, and then towards the end of the relationship. So I have not seen these, but apparently they are well regarded as just kind of telling that type of story and giving a trilogy, which is unique, I guess you would say, for something like that. Then Mad Max. Yeah, this is another series that we have 3 movies, but then we got Fury Road, which I love Fury Road more than the other movies. So I don't know if that's something where it just peaked.
It was Road Warrior and then Beyond Thunderdome, which is obviously where we are right now.
Yep.
And then they toss you into the Fury Road, which was
what was it? Mad Max, Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome. So there was 3. Then Fury Road.
Oh, okay, all right. I somehow omitted the middle one. So those I think need a rewatch. I think for me personally. Because I'd like to see him again.
The first one was really an independent film. I mean, horror
film,
or sci-fi film. Yeah. Then they actually got some budget, and that's where Thunderdome just really kind of like, wow, this got some money. And I don't think anybody felt like any of them were one was worse than the other in that area. So and we got the surprise, long delayed, quadril. I don't know what you even call it. The 4th movie.
The 4th chamber step.
That became a quadrilogy, as Alien told us. That's a thing. Or is it quintilogy? Exactly. Is 5?
No, of course 4. So
yeah. So quintilogy. I don't know if there's a great quintilogy out there. We'll find one. The 3 Colors trilogy. I know nothing about this movie series, so we'll move on.
Keep it moving.
We talked about Back to the Future.
Yep. Cap talked it over.
Yep, talked about
Indiana
that.
Jones.
Yep. I'm glad we're getting a 3rd part finally. Is all I will say. Or 4th part.
Who?
But no, I loved the second one. A lot of people don't, but I loved all of those movies. So I can't really say. But the second one is probably the weakest, but still a good trilogy.
We skimmed which I
said Indiana Jones. Sorry, I didn't mention it.
Gotcha, okay.
So definitely the first is regarded as one of the best movies of all time.
Indiana Jones. They're giving us a 5th one. You can't just ignore the 4th one now. They're doing a 5th one.
So we're getting a quintilogy, as we talked about. So
that is a quintilogy. But Dark Knight because the Dark Knight, the second one was the pinnacle of what a lot of people thought a comic book movie could be, and then there was the inevitable slide.
But Charlie, if nothing else, that movie, the last movie, gave us that awesome Bane voice, which we load.
I was born in the darkness.
I love that. Yes, it was cheesy, and I've only watched that movie once. I probably should go. Kidding. I've seen the first and the second one so many times. I love those. The third, though, I've only watched it once. I probably need to rewatch it.
It just kind of burned you. We dust those off maybe once every couple of years. Mm-hmm. So it's been last year was our year to watch. We didn't watch again. Godfather. We talked about Toy Story. We've not touched Toy Story,
but there's 4 now too, which is
right, exactly. So I mean, I can really not tell you a lot about anything past the first one because that was one of those that it was 95, so you and I were in college, so we weren't. It was when Pixar was really taking off, and neither one of us being like massive like Disney Pixar people, like probably kind of somewhere in the middle.
Well, I'm a big fan I've always been a big fan of their animation style. I thought Pixar is a fantastic studio, and I love the first 3. They're great. I thought 2 was excellent because they did some really cool things. 3, I felt like they really wrapped it up. So I'm like, that's why I've not seen 4 yet, because I'm like, I don't know what else they had to talk about.
Right.
So I thought 3. I thought this is actually a really good trilogy. So I'll say they did it, but then they went to quadrilogy and.
Right, exactly. Star Wars, we've chewed up and down
New
and
Hope.
sideways. And then we get to the number 1, which again, Lord of the Rings, which I recognize for its brilliance. I recognize for its fan base. Not personally my thing. Nobody's going to change my mind because it's not a genre I enjoy. But I will say yes. I will say yes to this.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. It's well regarded. Like I said, and this movie, these movies have a special place in my heart because the first one I saw when I was deployed to Korea, or I was living in Korea, married to my wife, and we didn't get to see this one. Saw this one in a Korean movie theater. Very interesting experience with the side. Their subtitles in Korean are on the side of the screen, which is very weird. Very interesting. Not a great movie experience either. The theater it wasn't dark enough. It was light. There was a lot of things going on. Then the second one, I got a bootleg copy of it when I was deployed in Saudi Arabia. So I'm like, it was a great experience because I was actually able to share it with a bunch of people who were also deployed with me. I think it said for like movie reviewers only in the bottom. So it wasn't perfect.
And I'm sure you don't want to say how you got it.
No, I won't. And then the third, though, finally got to see this trilogy wrap up with my wife in the States. So it was one of those things where the military did not allow me to see movies in the best way possible for many, many years. But and then wrapping it with my wife and seeing it there was magical. So yeah, great series. And they were going to try to replicate this. The Hobbit, I think, put a lot of bad taste in people's mouth with that trilogy, which was just subpar. Yeah,
did not make the list.
But it shouldn't taint, just like the prequels and sequels should not taint the original trilogy, and The Hobbit should not taint The Lord of the Rings.
It can't taint. So just to wrap up, we did put this out to the group. Scott Barber did chime in and mention that he loved Lord of the Rings and The Matrix. So he made both.
Well, he
both of us were in the top
disliked The Matrix. So yeah.
Best slashers. Well, I can agree with him there because the Matrix sequels, I've never been crazy about The Matrix, but I can recognize it for its groundbreaking. The other two films, we talked about this last week. For me, no mas.
I've not seen those other movies again. So they left me so like I don't want to bring the pain, but I need to rewatch The Matrix before Resurrection comes out, just because I want to just see it again in a good quality screen. And there we go.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, good. So, well, that's it. We've solved all the problems. All the trilogies are set free. Get me a copy of The Happy Hooker, and and we'll be good. We'll be good to go. Give me that.
Yeah, because I don't think it seems like lately though, Charlie will say, seems like nobody can let anything go. Nothing ever truly ends as a trilogy. There's always a fourth or a fifth. So, and even like I said, Beethoven has 8 films. So at this point, anything can be a long franchise if you want it to be.
I can't believe it. Oh my God, The Happy Hooker Goes to Washington in 1977 is on Paramount Plus.
Charlie, once again, yes, this is.
And you can rent the first one on Amazon Video. So
and kids, if you're wondering what a hooker is, they make the hooks that go on fishing poles.
Exactly. That's a full-time position. And one obviously goes to Washington in order to discuss
like Bender bends poles. So there you
go. To discuss the political issues of that. So it's very interesting.
Yes, very good. Well, that is it for the show, Charlie. So with that, take us out.
Oh, yeah. Friends, thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you as always that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.